Okay, so when I'm making a bowl, I want the shape of my ball of clay to represent the shape that I'm going to be making. So as I'm moving this clay around, once again, I'm always trying to get rid of that ripple. I'm trying to get rid of those grooves in the side by building it up. Pushing with the lower part of my hands first, middle part, upper part, and then piling that back down. My right hand keeps it nice and still while my left hand is changing the shape. Still feel a little bit of rippling in there, so I'm gonna push it together, push it back down until that goes away. Using my thumbs and the lower part of my hand at the same time to create the shape that I want, which is a dome, keeping this bottom edge clean at all times. Pushing across the wheel with my hands. Once I feel all of those ripples are gone, I can get this into the center. So I'm going to use the heel of my hand, the lower part, as well as my thumb, push it across and down at the same time, gently letting go. Keep that bottom edge clean. Notice how this is straight up and down, and it's not a pyramid shape. It doesn't start from wide to go to narrow, because if I'm making a bowl, I want the top to be wide and the bottom to be narrow, so I don't want to start with that reverse shape. I'm going to slow it down just a little bit to put the hole in. I'm going to use my left hand to support my right hand, keeping pressure between the two hands while I'm pushing it down. I want this to open up, so this is a slope, so I'm going to push from the top of my fingers out so that I have a V shape on the interior. I don't want a flat bottom for my bowl. I want that bowl to have a continuous curve throughout the piece. At this point, I need to get underneath this wall, and this is one of the challenging things for a lot of students to get. But what I want to get is underneath there, and so I can line my fingers up equally. I'm actually going to push with a sponge really hard against the wheel head and slide my finger underneath, and you can see how that brings up that part of the clay. I'm actually going to push with a sponge really hard against the wheel head and slide my finger underneath, and you can see how that brings up that part of the clay. That will allow me to go underneath with my fingers, lining them up, and slowly coming up to the top. I don't need to put a lot of pressure, as long as there's just a little pressure in between my hands. I'm on the right side. The only thing touching the clay is my two fingers on each hand, slowly coming up the wall. So I'm going to make this into a wider bowl, so I don't necessarily want this to go higher, but I am going to allow it to go a little bit wider. So my inside hand is pushing a little bit more than my outside hand. Using my sponge to smooth out the interior, get rid of any extra water. To keep my hands nice and still, you can notice that my thumb was resting on my other hand, so that when my hands are coming up together, they're moving at the same time. My thumb isn't actually pinching, but it sometimes will just hang on just for support. I'm going to use the curved side of the rib, and I'm going to hold it with the clay. So I want to press it down, and the clay is going to slide underneath this direction. So just on that right side first. Then when I get to the wall, I'm going to put a little pressure on the outside. Gently work my way to the top. And then at the very rim, or the very top of the rim, I'm going to give a little bit of a squeeze with my left hand and a little sponge with my right. So I want to have the nice rounded, smooth shape and for trimming. Some last little cleanup on the inside. Any little stray marks, I want to get rid of them now. Looking at the outside. If I need to, I can take my metal rib. Change the shape a little bit if I have to. And now it's ready to be done.